Very strong velocities are showing up with this storm. Here is the velocity signature. Bright greens going strong from west to east, right up against bright reds east to west. That's the tornado vortex signature. And let's see if I can take a slice through this, and we'll see how high up, get an estimate of how high up that debris is going. So if I do that, we're seeing here that lavender debris showing up, about 4,000 or 5,000 feet above the ground is how high it's showing up. So here is the tornado. We're exaggerating somewhat the tilt by this kind of a display, but this is the tornado signature coming up. The updraft of the parent thunderstorm, the storm top itself, it's a huge storm for New England, 52,000 feet, 10 miles tall, with a leaning big column of what I haven't caught that biggest hail, but big hail that is falling out of this particular storm. A dangerous storm in progress. The big hail core is off immediately to the east, so the sequence of events you're likely to get here in Massachusetts is some very large hail, and then suddenly, as the hail ends, you suddenly go into what storm chasers call the bear's cage, where you suddenly come out of the hail and right into the rotation of the parent thunderstorm. So this is an exceedingly dangerous situation, with the possibility of people ahead of the storm not being able to see it coming. So dangerous situation, Carl.
Greg, I just had a sinking feeling looking at this, because this is very similar to what we saw in Tuscaloosa and Birmingham. This is probably not going to be the same kind of tornado, but it certainly is the same kind of situation. When you see that ball like that, let's explain to people, when you see a debris ball, that means that is stuff that has been hit and is now being drawn into the tornado.
Yeah, there's only two ways that the radar really gets a return that intense, that lavender pink color. It's either large hail, and that's not the place in the storm where it happens. It's big pieces of debris that are so solid that the radar return comes back off of that and returns a very high percentage of its power. So that's why we get those circular debris balls. Of course, the tornado is pretty circular, and as Carl says, we've seen that way too many times this spring. We've seen it in Tuscaloosa, we've seen it in Joplin, we've seen it in many other occasions, St. Louis, you name it, with all of these violent tornadoes we've had this year. I said once before this spring, back on April 27th, that I had seen more debris balls that day than I had seen my entire career, and it really hasn't let up. We're seeing it again today, so this is a scary spring that we're in, Carl.
Yeah, very a troubling situation. Again, a tornado has come through Springfield, Massachusetts. Now that storm, as it continues off towards the east, is actually more well formed than it was when we saw the tornado on video. Maybe we can go back to graphics 14. Greg, this is about as awful of a picture on radar as you're ever going to see.
Yeah, it really is. The whole big parent thunderstorm spiraling around, and then the updraft of the storm rotates here. That concentrates and gets concentrated in and spins up the tornado that is showing up as that debris ball. Now, let me take a little bit of a measurement here. We may be seeing, find out how wide this is. That lavender core here is about 1 mile wide, so this is no longer a tiny little tornado, or if it ever was. It's certainly a very large circulation that we're seeing at this point, with velocities that are pretty scary showing up here in the Doppler radar, greens and reds touching. At this point, I'm seeing still about 85 miles per hour, but I'm up at an altitude here of about 4,000 feet. And so a pretty strong circulation, and definitely picking up debris high enough that we're seeing that at 4,000 to 5,000 feet above the ground.
Greg, can we zoom in on this radar so we can get a sense of what the towns are that are in the way of this tornado?
I was trying that. There we go. I've zoomed in close enough now that this is going to come very close to Fiskdale. Here is Fiskdale, the tornado going to come very close to that. So at this point, and these radar images come in just a moment or two late. So the tornado right at this point is very close to Fiskdale. At this time, which was about 2 minutes ago, the tornado was about 2.5 miles west-southwest of Fiskdale. So it's going to go very close to that.
Greg, this is just south of the Mass Pike, just south of I-90, now just to the west of 84. So think about the interchange of 84 and I-90, the Mass Pike there. That's where this tornado is headed. Sturbridge, also East Brimfield, East Brimfield Lake in that area. That is where this large and dangerous tornado is now heading.
Yeah, I'm sliding over toward where it's heading, so it's heading close to Sturbridge, perhaps a little to the north of that, although it could take a bit of a right turn. If it makes a turn to go down its edge of its precipitation and hail, it could go to Southbridge. And then beyond that, if it goes straight east, it could be going to Oxford, Massachusetts. So dangerous tornado in progress. New updated scan there showing very well-defined lavender debris ball there. Tornado is in that and heading east now across southern tier counties of Massachusetts.
All right, so if you're just joining us now, very dangerous situation. We've had a tornado already in Springfield, Massachusetts. You're looking at 2 supercell thunderstorms now making their way through central parts of Massachusetts. We've gotten reports of damage, and we have seen most recently, very unfortunately, a debris ball, which indicates a large, powerful tornado that has already done some damage, and now the debris from that damage is being drawn up into the system itself. That's the southernmost storm that's traveling right along the Mass Pike, closing in on the intersection of the Mass Pike and 84 in southern Massachusetts. These storms generally moving towards the east at about 30 miles an hour, and it looks like Boston is going to be in for at least some very rough weather, if not something worse, Greg.
Yeah, and this tornado now is located about 4 miles north of Holland. It's within a mile or two of Fiskdale, heading toward the Sturbridge area. So within minutes, Fiskdale and Sturbridge, you are going to be under threat from this tornado. Now, in terms of the Boston area, let me take a zoom out here. I'm working the radar a little bit off scene here. Boston is about 1 hour now away from the storm that's to the north. That storm may slide a little bit to the south of Boston, but Worcester, on the other hand, the northern tornado warning, Worcester is about 15 to 20 minutes away from a possible tornado. Here as we take a look, and I'll zoom in a little bit more on these 2 rotations. You can certainly see the stronger the 2 rotations is with the southern storm, but Worcester is about 15 to 20 minutes away from rotation on the northern storm that's about back in here. So here is their precipitation patterns that show the most well-defined circulation. So Worcester, this northern storm is headed your way, and the Sturbridge area, the tornado confirmed heading in your direction.
All right, I want to go now to Jerry Highland. He is a general manager of a radio station in the Springfield area, I believe. Jerry, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Carl. How you doing?
Good. Can you tell us about what you saw and heard there?
Yes, we were sitting here in the office, and they had forecasted possible tornadoes, but we get that rarely, and not like our friends to the south and Midwest, unfortunately. But all of a sudden it got very dark, very windy, thought it might be just another thunderstorm, but then receptionist started saying, "Oh my gosh, I see debris flying," ran towards her, and all of a sudden saw some what looked like tar coming off the roof and circular motion, and it just got quicker and quicker and quicker, which we're not used to. And then the Court Square, which is right in the center of town, or the city, probably 7,500-year-old trees, there's probably half a dozen of them that were overturned, ripped out of the ground. One of them actually looks like it was thrown about 6 feet, probably about a 2.5 foot, 3 foot tree. It was pretty intense and scary. We're not used to that up here.
Yeah, Jerry, I was going to say, I was born in Boston, spent some years there, and I don't recall there being tornado sirens in that area. No,
there are not. It truly is visual and very reactionary. Not any warning at all.
Did you have there certainly was a tornado warning at the time,
correct.
But you were just you weren't aware of that until it was on you, basically?
We were aware of the warning, but in terms of the forecast, but
right.
In terms of the actual event, not at all, other than visually seeing it out the window and realizing, uh-oh, we better head towards the center of the building.
Do you have any sense of the extent of the damage in that area?
No, other than as I look down Main Street, it looks like a possible building might have knocked over. There's several ambulances down the street, and police are rerouting traffic. I talked to my daughters who are out in my home at East Long Meadow, and it went probably about an eighth of a mile from there, and there's some trees down and that. But again, it seemed very, very focused on its path.
And I know this came in right at the beginning of rush hour. What's rush hour like there in Springfield? Is it often very crowded?
No, it's not a bad commuting town. It's not like an Atlanta or a Boston or New York. It's a light rush, so that's a fortunate thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and it all happened very quickly, yes?
It was here, and it was literally gone in minutes. And the damage, we have a couple of, it's not a big city, but there's a couple of high-rises, and they evacuated those. Sounds like precautionary. Maybe they'll be inspecting them to assure that they're structurally sound. But other than that, it was very fast, and some intense damage relative to our usual thunderstorms, but I'm sure nothing like the awful experiences of Joplin and some of the other places you were speaking of.
All right, Jerry Highland, WHYN General Manager, thank you so much for your time. We've got some new pictures right now of some of the damage there in the Springfield area. Greg, already we've seen damage in some areas. Looks like some pretty serious damage.
Yeah, trees, power poles that have been knocked down there. The good news at that point is I see those homes that still have the roofs intact. So sometimes the presence of tall trees will take a lot of the momentum, grab a lot of the, here's a tree that has been uprooted, but you see, aside from some of the trees perhaps falling on that, the big canopies of the trees sometimes will take a lot of the energy and absorb a lot of the energy, so that if the tree doesn't fall on the building, sometimes you're safe in these tornadoes that are of the EF1 category. So we have at least not totally leveled these buildings at this point. They're going to suffer some damage, probably from roofing damage, but the tall tree canopies have pulled in. Here's another big root ball that's been totally uprooted out of the ground, and the entire big old tree is leaning over here to the right. So pretty strong winds have come across this area.
All right, Greg, let's
we have a new radar also that has come in.
I was going to say, let's go back to the radar, because we've still got just an incredible, very upsetting actually, radar presentation with this supercell to the south.
Yeah, a new update on the radar has come in. We continue to see that lavender debris ball has moved just a little bit to the east. Still a tornado warning to the north, where the hook echo is getting a little bit better defined. So let's take a look at the velocities once again, then we'll zoom in and have a look at the locations. This one still, it has this rotation, but it's largely aloft, not nearly such strong rotation at the ground or at the lowest radar scan as we're seeing down with a storm to the south, and the one that has the debris ball that has done the damage in Springfield. So that is perilously close to Fiskdale, bearing down on Sturbridge, Massachusetts, with the very strong rotation showing up associated with that debris ball.
Greg, so people know these roads right in here. This is 84 that this debris ball is now coming into, and it's now south of the Mass Pike. That's 90 right there. So that is the area where this very large and damaging tornado is now coming in, and no doubt, Greg, it's doing some terrible things right now.
Yes, it still contains debris, still with velocities suggesting that it's still causing damage, and it's going to go very close to Sturbridge. It will continue on there, then right toward the Oxford area at its current direction of motion. So dangerous storm, dangerous tornado continues to be in progress according to our Doppler radars. Now, taking a look, in case a tornado does form on the northern storm, see if we can take a look here at some of the locations that may be in danger there. So Spencer, or areas just to the north of Spencer, and then over toward the Worcester area would be the next target. So areas near Spencer and Worcester from the northern storm are in danger.
And Greg, if we can go back to that southern storm again, I just want to talk to folks a little bit about some of the areas that are in the path of the storm. It looks like that large and damaging tornado, very, very serious tornado, now just to the east of Interstate 84, now just about on top of Sturbridge. So that's going to be coming into Route 169, possibly close to Southbridge as well, maybe just to the north of Southbridge, then towards Route 31. This is to the south of 20 and the Mass Pike, and then making its way towards the Granite Reservoir, and then perhaps eventually towards Oxford and Hodges, and then 395 south of the Mass Pike. This is all moving towards the east now, Greg, 35 miles an hour about?
Probably a little faster than that, 35, in the 35 to 40 range. I'm losing my voice here at the moment, but just to the past to the east, it looks as if the tornado has made a direct hit on Sturbridge. So live pictures of damage coming in. Now we're seeing some building, probably the facades, those top that you're seeing there, building facades that have collapsed. That presumably was West Springfield. Now it has gone right across Sturbridge, continues off to the east, will go just to the north of Southbridge, and then heading toward Oxford in Massachusetts.
All right, if you're just joining us now, we are tracking a monster tornado. Started out in Springfield, Massachusetts, caused the damage that you are seeing there. That is live coverage that you're looking at right there. And we've gotten reports of trees certainly knocked over. We've gotten reports of roofs damaged and cars being tossed in this, trucks being tossed in this storm. And this happened right at the beginning of rush hour. That storm has actually only gotten more intense as it's been working off towards the east. Now a very well-formed, probably a large, very dangerous tornado now coming through southern Massachusetts and just south of the Mass Pike. So an incredibly unfortunate situation today, Greg.
And that tornado is within 10 minutes now of Oxford, Massachusetts, heading east at about 40 miles per hour. Dangerous tornado continues to be in progress.
Greg, so let's talk a little bit about the timing here. This is going to be moving over towards, that looks like 395 there around Oxford. Again, moving 35 miles an hour. That's not a very long stretch right there, so it's moving pretty quickly. What are we talking about in terms of timing moving into southeast Mass, into the Boston area at this point too?
Well, it looks like about 10 minutes to Oxford. We'd be talking near East Douglas, and about 25 minutes we'll be talking Whitensville here, about a half hour or a little less than a half hour from now, and then continuing over toward the shore here. Milford, that's probably about 40 minutes. North Bellingham, about 40 minutes. Bellingham, that time frame. Franklin, probably about 45 minutes from now. So that's the general area where this tornado is heading.
So again, we are watching a very large tornado. Greg, this radar return, I mean, I don't really see a significant difference between this and what we saw in Alabama a month ago. This is very, very well defined and very intense.
It certainly is. We certainly have the intense debris ball. It's not going quite as high as what we saw in Alabama. The velocities within it not quite as strong, but still a dangerous storm. I'm seeing up here at about 3,500 feet. Velocities now that are about 65 miles per hour. So it showing some sign of weakening, at least velocity measured wise, but still a dangerous tornado in progress. We don't always get the full measure of this on our radar. And here is the tornado, that debris signature. We can't get all the way to the ground because this is the lowest scan of the radar. But there is the tornado leaning up toward the north and east as it follows along with its parent thunderstorm and so we may actually have the tornado circulation here going up perhaps 20,000 feet in the storm, and that being basically the tornado that we're catching here in my slice through. So I took a slice, you see there, off toward the north and east, and the tornado is pulled along with the updraft of the parent thunderstorm off toward the east. The whole thunderstorm itself is moving east, and the tornado leans toward, with that updraft, the updraft leans off toward the northeast in the parent storm.
Maybe we can take Max 7 right now. I want to show you a broader view of these two supercell storms that we are now watching. The southernmost one is the one that has been producing the tornado, and that debris ball, that very well-defined tornado, that now moving towards 395 in southern Massachusetts. Also, the northernmost cell now coming through central parts of Massachusetts and into the Worcester area, probably now about an hour away from downtown Boston, but certainly we'll see some impacts coming into the west side of the Boston area before that. And to get you up to date now, if you are just joining us, we have seen a tornado come into Springfield, Massachusetts, did produce some damage. We can take a look at some of the damage that we saw earlier today in the tornado itself. We actually caught it from multiple angles coming into Springfield. There's a live look at the damage now. This is the, I think, the Morrow Bridge that crosses the Connecticut River in downtown Springfield, and the tornado crossed right over that river and over 91 as well. And you can see as it moved over the bridge there, it actually turned over a semi, caused a lot of damage to roofs and to trees. We actually saw a building that was pretty significantly damaged there in Springfield, and then the tornado got worse. Now, as it moved to the east of that area, it moved into areas where we've got smaller towns, generally to the south of the Mass Pike there, right across 84 initially, now coming into 395. So we've got two very dangerous storms, certainly the southernmost storm, the more dangerous of the two, and these are generally, Greg, headed towards the Boston metro area.
Yeah, and they certainly are. The northern of the storms will come a lot closer than the southern one. The Both of the storms, as they've begun to rotate, have taken a little bit of a right turn. It's kind of like the baseball pitcher, the ball curves, and that's indeed happening here. Boston, you're likely to get hit by hail, but the south suburbs, the far south suburbs, have the chance of tornado. The storm that has the tornado on it is definitely going to go south of Boston. It's generally heading toward the Brockton area at this point in time, and we do have a new high-resolution radar scan that has come in, and it's giving us a little bit of good news, or some room for optimism at this point. Some graphics 14 shows that that debris ball, while it's probably still here, has definitely shown some signs of weakening. It's not that lavender color. And I want to point out for the viewers, just color alone doesn't tell you everything. This is lavender, here's lavender, but these are not debris, these are hail. These are up in the body of the storm where we expect to see that. Same in here, but previously we were seeing it down in that hook echo area. We do not normally get hail. See there, just a moment ago, we had that debris ball there. That is not where you get hail, that's where we have hail. So the good news is that in the past 5 minutes then, we have lost that debris ball signature. Here is the most recent, still very strong tornado or rotation signature showing up, but definitely has weakened compared to what we had seen. So the trend now in the past 10 minutes has been downward, green going eastbound, red going westbound, but at least at this level that is up at about 3,200 feet now above ground, I'm seeing velocity that's about a rotation of about 30 or 35 miles per hour, as opposed to what at one point was about 85 that I was seeing. So we're showing some signs of weakening. We have here some this little arc that's wrapping around, suggesting perhaps that some rain-cooled air is wrapping around the tornado. That is a little bit of good and bad news. One is that the good news is taking some rain-stabilized air and is helping weaken the tornado, but it also may mean that now it's getting a little bit murkier to see it, maybe rain-wrapped, and it was already going to be hard to see it if you were out due east of it because there was hail that was falling. So still dangerous storm. I'll zoom in a bit more here and we'll take a look at the location. So the tornado is in the area now a few miles to the east of Sturbridge, a little bit to the northeast of Southbridge, and moving off toward the east, still generally moving toward the area of Oxford, within about 10 minutes of Oxford in Massachusetts.
It looks, Craig, like it's going to be coming right into Granite Reservoir there, Bufhamville Lake as well, Hodges possibly, then towards 395, then beyond that getting over towards Sutton, and then again to the south of the Mass Pike there may eventually make its way towards Milford if it does hold together. Again, we've gotten some better news here. The radar signature, the tornadic signature, not as well defined, but Greg, this has been a very intense storm. It's going to take a lot of time. These things don't just stop usually when they get this strong.
No, and sometimes they cycle. You can see that the storm continues to have a well-defined hook echo, so you can continue to develop new tornadoes. Sometimes one will lift and the next one will form after that rain-cooled air gets out of the way and it is able to tap in warm air again. Even though the main part of the tornadic rotation circulation of the northern storm has not yet quite gotten there, there's been a funnel cloud reported in Worcester, so don't want to lose track of that northern storm either. But the heavy rain and possibly the hail coming now into Worcester, Massachusetts, and some signs that the tornado circulation may be weakening for the moment in the storm that has previously hit Springfield, Massachusetts.
All right, right now we want to go to Jacqueline Campbell in Westfield, Massachusetts. And Jacqueline, I know that there was a report of at least a funnel cloud there. Did you get a tornado there as well?
Yes, there's supposed to be a touchdown on Shaker Road. I can see Shaker Road from my house, but I cannot see where it touched down.
And did you actually see this when it came through?
My husband and I noticed that there was a lot of debris floating through the air, and it was like forming a tunnel. And it got very dark out there. The thunder and lightning had stopped, and the hail, but we went to the basement. It just looked like it was going to form a funnel.
And Jacqueline, what did you think when you realized that a tornado might be coming? I mean, you generally don't get a lot of tornadoes in this part of the world.
It's scary, very scary.
I'm sure it is. And have you seen any damage in that area?
No, but for the last half hour or so, there's been so many police cars and everything on Shaker Road there has to be some devastation over there.
And were you following the weather today, or did you just happen to notice these storms coming in?
No, we did hear that there was a warning, but it wasn't for Westfield, but supposedly it hit Springfield and Westfield.
Yeah, it came right into Springfield. Jacqueline, thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it. Again, folks, if you're just joining us now, we had a tornado come into the Springfield area. As it made its way farther east, it became even more intense. There's a look at the tornado as it moved into Springfield, Massachusetts. This is coming in at the beginning of the rush hour. They don't have an incredibly jammed rush hour there in Springfield, but nonetheless, there were a lot of cars on the road. Some of those cars, some of those trucks actually overturned by the wind. There you see what we call the dust envelope there. That's the base of the tornado. You see the inflow coming into the storm. Debris in the air as well. It actually crossed the Connecticut River in downtown Springfield and then rapidly continued off towards the east. Came in and out of town in a matter of 5 minutes or so. And then as it made its way farther eastward across southern parts of Massachusetts, it actually became more intense. And for a time, Greg, we were watching a storm that was a very well-defined, most likely a large tornado producing a tremendous amount of damage. We saw that well-defined debris ball that we saw in Alabama with those storms in Tuscaloosa and Birmingham. Probably not as bad as those storms, but certainly it was very impressive.
And we do have confirmation now that in Sturbridge there has been a tornado there, has overturned vehicles on I-84 as it came across that area. That was moments ago when we were following that debris ball. Still, that would be this southern storm. That would be still the hook echo, could still develop and re-intensify, would come over toward the area just north of Woonsocket, head toward the Brockton area. The next storm is not as well organized. It in fact has a couple of cells there, keeps reforming on its trailing side near the West Brookfield area, near Worcester, going to head toward Framingham, head toward the far south suburbs of Boston. If we can go to graphics 14, we'll take a look at the newest update on that. And to the left here is Sturbridge. That's where we saw the debris ball. I'll back that up in just a moment. Tornado now is sitting right about here, or at least what had been the weakening, what is now a weakening tornado circulation. We don't see that real tight green and red. Could be at location even here. That location would be just about 5 miles west of Oxford.
Greg, before you go, could you explain to our viewers what exactly they're looking at when they're looking at velocity right there? Why it is you can tell there's a tornado there?
We're seeing greens that are going eastbound and reds westbound, so I'm not absolutely sure at this point that we have a tornado. The place where they touch and are the biggest difference is right about in this location, but I'll back it up a few time steps here and you'll be able to see, go back one time step, and probably here is the tornado. It's gotten a little brighter green, a little brighter red. I'll go back one more and we'll be very clear at this point, just to the east of Sturbridge, that the very strong green eastbound, the strong red westbounds are the tornado there. And then unfortunately, we'll go back one more. And as it was coming into the Sturbridge area, we had a very strong rotation right there. So and that was where the debris ball, the debris ball was back with even the western of those circulations. We actually had a couple of them. So there is the debris. We'll step forward with that one then and see that the debris ball that marks the debris that's been picked up in the air enough that to get very high return on the radar came right across Sturbridge in that 5-minute period. But then we began to lose it. It's farther east of Sturbridge, and now it's yet farther still off toward the east. I'll move, but still a possibility of a tornado getting perilously close to the Oxford area. I would expect that we're seeing a rotating cloud aloft. With this, we do not have a very strong rotation signature
towards Whitensville, so heads up in all of those areas as this storm is still very well formed. If you're just joining us now, we've been tracking a large and dangerous tornado coming across southern parts of Massachusetts. It's been a terrible day today. That tornado initially forming in western Mass around Springfield, where we got reports of damage. We saw the damage as well. We've seen some pretty serious damage across parts of Springfield. Then the tornado got more intense as it moved across southern parts of Massachusetts. Now may be on the wane somewhat. There's a look at some of those pictures that we saw earlier as the storm came into Springfield, Mass. There, and you see a pretty well-defined tornado came right across the Connecticut River, and certainly churning up some debris there, causing some pretty serious damage as it moved through that area. We want to go now to Mark Elliott. He is in the Digital Media Center, and Mark, you've been getting some pictures, presumably, of the damage in those areas.
Yeah, lots of people from the Springfield area have been sending in their shots, Carl, and I wanted to show you a few of them to show you what people in Massachusetts are dealing with right now. We start off in the Springfield area. This is actually taken on the 34th floor of a building, sent in by Jay Garvey. You can see out the window, even with the reflection blocking the way, that there is a definite lowering and tornado on the ground there. Here's an even better shot. This one getting a lot of play on Twitter right now. Casey Manning sending this one in. Just a classic elephant trunk tornado coming down, blocked by the trees so you can't see the ground, but still a scary sight across portions of Massachusetts. How about this one? I wouldn't want to be in this building. Again, sent in by Hainesby TV, and right behind this building is that tornado as it goes through the Springfield area. Now, as for damage, I've seen reports of lots of tree damage. This one coming in from the Falcons AHL, so Springfield Falcons here, and you can see just huge roots being exposed here as those big trees are knocked over. And finally, this one, just tree damage everywhere. Entire streets blocked because very old, very tall trees have been falling across the Springfield area. So this is something that we will continue to monitor on Twitter, of course. Carl, are you seeing that on radar still?
You know, we certainly are seeing a very well-defined storm on radar. There's no doubt about that. That is now traveling right across the 395 corridor there into southern Mass. There's a look at the two storms. Still a very well-defined circulation on the southernmost cell that is now coming right into 395 in southern parts of Massachusetts, moving east about 35 miles an hour. It's not as well-defined as it was earlier. We saw a terrible sight there with a debris ball coming into areas around Stockbridge there. And then also notice there's this big storm off to the north in Worcester, and then another one behind that. And now
a severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for your area.
Showing some signs of rotation as well.
Yeah, and if we could go to graphics 14 and get a little bit of a bigger view of this. Want to point out that we do have a little bit of a tornado warning in effect for Providence County, but that is not so much that there's any particular storm that's heading right toward Providence. It's just to allow for a little bit of a chance that this storm that we've been following could make a bit of a right turn. So no imminent threat for downtown Providence. The storm, we've had continued tornado warning for the storm north of our previous storm that has hit Springfield. That is going to go south of the Boston area. We'll have some strong thunderstorms, perhaps some hail, about 45 minutes from now coming into Boston, and then, but the tornado threat seems to be a lot less on this northern storm. We've had some funnel clouds, but it is ingesting a lot of rain-cooled air from the storm to the south. The storm to the south that has hit Springfield has basically no competitors to the south, so it's tapping that warm, moist air. Be interesting to see this renegade storm. Notice how it's moving so much differently. Yeah. The storm that's coming toward Putnam here in Connecticut is coming to the northeast. The storm that is rotating is moving due east, so we may get a collision. At this point, it looks like it may collide just behind the storm that is pushing across southern Massachusetts, and probably and unfortunately will not cause it to really cause its demise. So dangerous tornado in progress, or at least has been in progress and may still be in progress, coming across southern parts of Massachusetts.
All right, that storm that is still going now came through Springfield, Mass. Earlier, I want to talk to Dennis Flesher. He is with the Springfield Fire Department. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, sir.
What can you tell us about the damage that you've seen there?
It's like there's thousands of trees down, hundreds of houses affected. One building, the whole top floor has gone off it. I witnessed the funnel cloud come through, right through the center of the city.
And
so,
did you know
a lot of damage here?
Did you know what you were seeing when it was coming through?
Oh, absolutely.
This is not something that you get a lot of there in Springfield.
No, I used to look at things like that in the movies. But it was pretty clear what it was. There was a lot of debris in the twisting cloud. We initially have reports of people missing, but those are unconfirmed. There's a lot of damage here, and we're spread thin. We're still investigating what's going on.
So any injuries as far as you know at this point?
There's been several injuries. A lot of cars flipped over with people in them. People were trapped in cars, and the cars have been cleared. They've been taken to area hospitals. So a lot of the homes, there's a lot of damage to homes. We're starting to try to get into those and search to see if there's any people in there.
You know, we saw as the storm crossed the Connecticut River there and went across that bridge. I can't remember the name of the bridge, but is that where the cars were flipped primarily?
Actually, they were on the other side of the city, east of there, but there were some cars flipped down there too. They were all over town. So there was may have been multiple touchdowns of a storm. I think there was more than one.
And this was coming in really right at the beginning of rush hour. I know that you don't have a terribly crowded rush hour there, but still there were a lot of people on the roads at the time, yes?
Yeah, there's a lot of gridlock because a lot of streets are completely blocked by the downed trees, so people are trying to search alternate routes, and it is a real traffic snarl.
And what is the size of the area that's been damaged, as nearly as you can tell us?
I would say it's in about a 17-mile area. It's spread out all across the city in multiple locations.
All right, Dennis Leager with the Springfield Fire Department, thank you so much for your time, sir. We certainly do appreciate it. They've taken a pretty serious hit there in Springfield, Massachusetts. Gotten reports of many cars flipped, many injuries as a result, thousands of trees down across the city, hundreds of homes have been damaged. So it appears, Greg, that it actually has been very bad, unfortunately, there in Springfield. We couldn't see all of that when we were seeing the pictures, but it has been a very bad hit there in Springfield.
Yeah, it's been very bad, and we just saw the video of the tornado in progress there just before we came back to us live, and you could see the tornado really visibly spinning very rapidly there. Here at this point, the tornado was somewhat transparent. It did not have a funnel that came all the way down to the ground, but still from the dust, from the debris, you can see it rotating very rapidly counterclockwise, and because the debris, those pieces of black, are so big, they're unable to follow the counterclockwise rotation of the wind. They get what we call centrifuged out, and so they're actually being spit out of the tornado, some of it coming toward the camera there and fall beyond the edge of the tornado. So we were seeing on radar a debris ball signature that was about a mile wide.
Wow, look at the debris. There you see some of those cars flipped. There you see trees that have been largely denuded. Looks like some pretty serious structural damage there as well. Your early guess, what would you say, maybe F2 easily?
Certainly, if an entire floor of a building is gone, we're certainly going to be in the EF2 range. The roof's off, get us to EF1 or higher. These kind of trees down here probably are in the EF1 range. So I'm thinking it's going to be an EF1 at least, and probably quite a bit higher than that. It'll depend on the maximum of the structures. We saw there's the tornado in progress there from one vantage point from a little bit farther away. You can see it, a cone-shaped tornado or an elephant trunk-shaped tornado now at the base portion of it. There it goes again, just moving now, partly hidden by the tree cluster there. So a well-defined tornado moving across Massachusetts, Springfield, and continued for, by all indications, quite a few miles as it was again reported as it came across areas well to the east of Springfield. The storm now continues to look like it has become a little bit temporarily, at least, outflow dominated by a big band, an arc of outflow that is pushed down around the where the rotation had been. And on Doppler radar, it continues to show a weakening or a total disappearance of the low-level rotation signature. So the tornado probably has lifted at this point, but still a big, wide open space here of inflow. Tornadoes and these rotating supercell thunderstorms are known to cycle. They'll produce one tornado, wrap it themselves in rain, choke off the tornado, but with this wide of an inflow area coming in, quite likely that it could produce yet another tornado. And if it did so, that would generally be heading north of Woonsocket over toward the Brockton area. The tornado warning that had been in effect north of that has expired. That storm has largely been absorbed, or has absorbed the rain-cooled air from the storm to the south. That was the one that was coming to Boston. So lightning, heavy rain, maybe some hail coming toward the Boston area over the course of the next half hour to a half hour.